everyone. Welcome back, South Philly Sauce and Audacy Original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels, Al Morganti, Ashlyn, Sullivan, here with you in the off season, in the summer, but gearing up for Flyers camp that will be starting before we know it. It is already August and camp will be here in September. So only a couple more weeks before we get this going. And Al, a lot of talk of expectations for next year, right? And rightfully so, because the Flyers greatly outperformed their expectations last season. But I think we all agree, in order for them to take another next step, there's going to be some crucial guys that need to take a step forward. And I know you wanted to go through a couple of guys. So who comes to mind when we talk about that?
Well, the first guy that comes to mind for me is a guy that didn't play healthy last year. I'm not talking Couturier, I'm talking Drysdale. Look, when you got a guy like this, we saw him skate, and even with his hip injury or groin injury, whatever ultimately needed to be fixed in the offseason, you could tell the potential that was there. And if Drysdale can really move, can really pivot, and can really motor, I think he's a huge element. I'm looking at the power play with Mitchkov here now on what can possibly happen. And, no matter what happens from, no matter where he goes in his career, in Philadelphia is going to be, they didn't get Cutter Gauthier, but they got this guy. So we'll see what he can do. And I was impressed with, I was impressed anyway, watching him, like, boy, this guy's good. He can scoot. He can really move. He's got he really has some boots. But then knowing and having him talk afterwards that he really wasn't near 100%, that's a level that I really want to see when he reaches it, what it's like, and the difference it makes on the ice with skilled players. He's a guy that I really think can reach a next level really quickly.
I do too, because if you think about, and truthfully, we knew that he came over a bit banged up, but we didn't know that the extent of the injury was what it was until he told us at the end of the season. So we always knew he was dealing with a little something, but we didn't think it was to the magnitude it was. So when you watch him scoot and you watch his potential, you can't help but think, man, what's this guy going to look like healthy? And sadly, the knock on him as of now in his very young career is that he can't stay healthy. So this is an opportunity for him to have a big year, but even if he gets even close to the potential we think he can, this is an awesome trade for the Flyers, and this is a guy that needs to take a step in the right direction. I've been really encouraged, though, with Jamie Drysdale, seeing him many times throughout the summer at every Flyers event that's in charity. He was at all the Flyers carnivals. I see him around the city. He's made Philadelphia his home. He's here with the young guys. They were at the Zach Bryan concert. He's with Tyson Foerster and Farabee, and you can tell he cares, right? He was incredibly complimentary of Mitchkov and wanting to meet him and get to know him. This is a guy, you can tell already he's very cemented in the organization and wants to be a part of this, which is really cool for a very contradictory trade and the reason he got brought over here in the first place.
Yeah, he's going to be a different guy. I'm assuming Mitchkov's very outgoing, but Drysdale seems like a guy wants to fit in, be part of it. He wants to just be part of everything that's going on. And I think he's going to be a real comfortable fit in a locker room. But you're right about the injuries. There are certain guys, for whatever reason, it's like, they're like mini Embiids. For whatever reason, they're just always dealing with something. They're always banged up. But you want guys and that's why I think it was important that he played through that last year. You don't want guys that when the check engine light is on, the car doesn't go out of the garage. You want guys that takes it out of the garage and keeps going, even if there's a red light on here and there.
Right. And you can't help that that's the knock on him right now. And I always battle with that because it does seem like for some reason, and really in all of sports, you get that label and it's really hard to shake it. But the thing that I'm encouraged about with Drysdale is he is so young. He's so young in his career, right? And maybe he just hasn't been given the opportunity or the chance to play a full healthy season. We know he got this core surgery. So maybe this is something that's been lingering for a long time. And with the surgery, he has the chance now to be 100%.
Yeah. So I'm betting big time on him. Not theoretically, not any FanDuel.
It's easy to bet on a guy like that who does all the right things, who says all the right things, is so team first, a very easy guy to root for. And we see his potential, right? And another guy who is so in that boat, I would say even more so, is Tyson Foerster. I mean, we saw glimpses of him and we knew this was a guy when he got his chance with the Flyers, it was a guy that was not going to be sent down. And sure enough, he stayed up with the Flyers. He was an impressive impact right away. And if they can get the most out of Tyson, with Michkov and all these young guys. I mean, he is so electric to watch. All they need, I think, is just a little more consistency from him, which shouldn't be too much to ask with everything he went through last year, getting up and getting used to this.
Yeah, he's a weird one because, when anybody that saw him throughout his early career, it still is an early career, it was like, what a great shot. And you're thinking, okay, he's just going to learn how to play the whole game. Well, he knows how to play the whole game. And this is kind of an unfair expectation. But now that I've seen how he plays defensively and he's a very aware player, I'm like, okay, that's taken care of. Now I want to see the shot.
Mm-hmm.
now I want the goals. I'm like, all right, now I'm not worried about your man getting away, where you're going to be. I can see that you think the game very, very well. I can have you on the ice, goal up, goal down, whatever. But now that shot, I want to see that happen. And that's why when we're talking about this, it's like these pieces are together in a puzzle. If Drysdale really is that much better, can move the puck around, and Michkov is that much better, then I think that shot gets set up and we can see where he goes to that next. So to me, that next level for him is everything else is taken care of, at least should be. Now I just want to see a little bit more selfish and rip that shot off more occasions.
I mean, you said that all the time in the pregame shows. It's because you see it once and it's like, okay, where is that every single game? It's like when you prove it to everyone, you've got it. We can't help but ask, okay, why aren't you doing that every game? And maybe we haven't talked to him about this, but I'm curious when we do ask him, is it a hesitation? Is it a not trusting himself? Is it getting used to the NHL speed? I could so see that as well. And probably a number of factors.
Well, I did talk to him about it because I was like, if I had a shot like that, I'd take 500 shots a game.
Right, why not?
What are you doing? And it was like, but I think because a young player, I think he really wanted to learn the entire game. And when you're a young player, and he won't say it, or young players often won't say, I'm afraid of something. But if that shot is wide on the, goes on the wrong side and goes the other way, and Tortorella is your coach, you are cooked.
Yeah.
You are cooked. So I think he just has to trust a little bit more. But I think also the encouragement will come, and it won't be the coaching thing. I think the encouragement will come from teammates. It'll say, because we watch it practice, like, oh my Lord, just like, and eventually on a bench, it'll be on the teammates, be like, just get the puck to him and let him rip it.
Yeah, and you can see, especially when Torts is so adamant, especially with young players, on learning the defensive side of the game. And that is where you earn your ice time, is if you're blocking shots and doing that side of the game as well. But I remember talking to Travis Konechny, and he can't hype up Tyson Foerster enough. Like, they all see it. They all see, obviously, the potential. So I agree, it might have to be more on the players, and Tyson understanding that Torts is where he wants to be with him. And another great example of that is Cam York. I mean, when we think of last season, I can't think of someone who took a bigger step. And I don't think he gets enough attention. I don't think he gets enough recognition for the way he played last year. His story is incredible to not make the team and to now be one of the guys we're talking about who we know can take a next step after already having an insane season last year.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, okay, might be a good number 2 defenseman. Sanheim's your guy, but he might be a number 1 defenseman. That's how much talent this kid has. And he's just a real easy fit. We talked about Drysdale. I saw the video, him and Drysdale flipping burgers with Gritty. I'm like, well, that's pretty.
And they're Cherry Hill home.
Yeah, those guys are, they're not going to get nervous in situations. And that's what I really like. We saw a couple of times when he flipped the puck out of the zone over the glass, take a penalty. They ask him to play one side of the ice. Sometimes it's harder on your backhand to get the puck out of the zone occasionally. But I like the way that he's kind of folded right into everything. And I think he's a guy that is a long-term guy here that's really underappreciated, at least early in his career here, for what exactly he can do. And also, I think he's a bigger team leader than people assume. Konechny's the guy, and Lawton's there, and certainly Couturier's there. But I watch, you too. You watch what happens in a locker room, who gets, who talks to somebody, whatever. And he seems to be one of those guys that calms everybody down. Mm-hmm. I got to think in a situation where you've got a vitriolic coach at times like Tortorella, he could calm anything down and just say, let's just, get through this and we'll be fine at the end of this period or whatever.
Yeah, the vibes are always high with Cam York. Nothing can shake that man. And I even go back to the beginning of last year. I remember sitting down with him when training camp started. And at that point, I mean, we had no idea what was going to happen with Cam York. We had no idea the potential he was going to have this upcoming season. And I remember his goal, he told me, was to be a number 1 starting defenseman in the NHL. And I remember hearing that thinking, oh, that's a lofty goal, but hey, credit to you. Now when he says that, I'm like, of course he should think that because he's almost there. He's 5 steps away from that. Yeah,
he's there, and there's nothing that on the ice, whatever situation. I'm convinced if you told him, the roof's falling, he said, "You want a hat?" That's all. That'd be his biggest worry. Yeah, no worries at all. Everything would be fine. So yeah, I think they got themselves a real solid one there, and the fact that he's so close to Drysdale, I think, really helped. When you're looking to put together, you're building this team through defense. They've got kids coming up. They've got a pretty good pipeline of kids. But if you've got right now these two behind Sanheim, man, you're starting to put together something really special.
You are. You see the puzzle pieces coming together. And a couple of years ago, it seemed that it was too far away, or you didn't know what would happen. But the management always said, this is what we're building towards. And I have confidence, at least now, 2 years removed from that. Oh, okay, I see what they're talking about now. I see these pieces coming together. And I know, Al, you had one more guy you wanted to discuss for next steps.
Farabee. Joel Farabee's a really intriguing guy because last year it looked for a long time like he's there. He's a solid guy. He's going to be a power forward or whatever. And then then it slipped off a bit. Now, Tippett's a guy with big top end. I'm just expecting Tippett's going to be that guy with wheels, go to the net. He's going to get pretty goals like we saw. But Farabee to me is a guy I think they have to decide, is he going to be a big piece of this? He can't just be a piece of this to me. Yeah. Farabee's that kind of player that he's going to be a big piece of this with ice time. And that's where it's going to get tricky with these kids coming up, like the top 6 or whatever, when you start shuffling out ice time to people. I don't think he can get shorted on ice time and be happy. I wouldn't be if I was him, because I've seen the top end of his game. So I think early in the season, I think he's got to establish, I earned all that ice time. You're not taking me off top 6 or whatever. And when we really need a goal situation, I'm going to be there. But I think he's going to have to get that. And that's why I think the early season is going to be crucial for him, that he's a big part of this team. He is a guy, though, Ashlyn, that I think, if I woke up tomorrow morning, it was like Flyers or rumors, trades, he'd be a guy I'd expected to be there. And that's not a knock on him. It's kind of a plus.
I agree.
I know what other teams saw playing against the Flyers when he's on his game.
And he is by far the biggest question mark for me. I can't figure this guy out. Like we say, okay, he's got to play like a top 6 player, but so many times last season, we didn't see that. I mean, his inconsistency is a real thing. So when I think how John Torrell and the coaching staff thinks, why give him that ice time? We've seen glimpses, right? But to think he's deserved all this ice time when he's been so inconsistent, I don't get it. I see both sides, and I don't know how it gets resolved. I would not be shocked at all if he is a trade candidate, and credit to him because, he deserves that ice time. But when you're being upfront and honest that the young guys are the core of this team, if I'm Torts, and I'm sure he said this, I've seen what I need to see, right? Like if you haven't proven it now, when are you going to prove it is what I always think about.
Yeah, but to me, he's a guy, if he can play a bully type of a game, I think they need some of that. And I think he's got the frame to do it. And now he's another year removed from the bad injury that he had to come in. So I think that he's a guy that, like I said, he's got to be a little bit selfish in this I've earned this and I'm not giving it up. And you can't make with Tortorella, it's amazing. One guy that we mentioned, the kid Foerster, doesn't make that defensive mistake, and occasionally, Farabee would. He's got to stay away from that also. But he's another guy. If he plays that physical game, go to the front of the net, so many things can change with the talent that they have. That you get somebody that goes to the front, tips some shots or whatever, that makes you invaluable as a player. Mm-hmm. So he's got it all cut out for him. And whether it's here or elsewhere, there's a blueprint for what makes him a successful player, and I think he has to get to it real early.
Yeah, I think he has to get to it soon this year. To me, it's this year or it's nothing, because last year, and 2 years ago, it was the injury, right? And the entire last offseason, we talked about, wow, we can't wait to see what a fully healthy Joel Farabee looks like this upcoming year. We saw glimpses, right? But I don't think he met the expectations we at least put on him. So to me now, this upcoming year, it's got to be the year, or sadly, you don't live up to your draft status, in my opinion.
You don't, and you've got salary consideration, salary cap, who fits in, can they move? So he's going to be in play, as they say. Yeah.
So a lot of questions, Al, but I think, for us to talk about these 4 players, I think if we did this episode a year ago, we would not have discussed maybe any of them. So that goes to show just how far this team has come in 1 year.
It does. And next week we'll go goaltending.
All right. Producer Al Morganti. I like it. You heard it here first. Next week is goaltending. Thanks for tuning into South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.